Hi everybody, and welcome to We All Have Stories. Now, in this video, I'm going to be taking you guys through what I think is kind of a good process for approaching fiction. Doesn't matter what kind of fiction you're writing, doesn't matter, whether it's contemporary, fantasy, science fiction, whatever it is. If it's fiction, it should probably work within this framework. Having said that, I should also say that this is just my way of doing things. It's not, any kind of definitive thing. You might find that there's some parts in here that you like. You'll find that there's parts that you don't like. All that's great. Every writer has their own process, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned over the course of, 25, 30 years of practice that might help you along the way, because they've helped me. These lessons took a long time and took a long time to learn, and they've helped me become a better writer. So let's get started. So everything generally starts with a simple idea. And this can come out of anything. So you could look at a painting or a picture, you could be surfing online, you could watch a movie or a show, you could listen to a song. Whatever it is sparks your imagination and basically your mind creates some kind of a scene or an image or a little bit of dialogue. Sorry, I can't spell today. But that's basically what happens. You have that little spark and it's in there and you're like, okay, I need to get this out on paper. How do I do that? And if you're new to writing, or if you have sort of struggled with this over the past, how many ever years or months or weeks or whatever, what I've always found is that the hardest part really is just starting. Forgetting about how good it's going to be or how bad it's going to be or anything like that, and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to get the basics out first and I'll work on the rest of it later. So that's really important to getting going and basically creating any kind of finished product, if you will. So every story, I'll call it a product or whatever, but basically a story is essentially whatever you want it to be. It can be something for yourself, it can be something that you share with friends or family, or it can be something that you try to sell. But my background is generally in professional writing, so not fiction, but technical writing, training manuals, diagrams, projects, stuff like that. And so each of those projects turns into a product that's delivered to somebody, and that's why I call them products. But when I say product, all I really mean is whatever it is you've written, whether it's a short story, whether it's a novel, a novella, whether it's a poem, whatever. So you've got your idea, right? Nice, big, sunny, happy idea. And you have to basically convert that into a story. All right? Because your idea is only ever going to be a starting point. It's not going to be the complete story. There's always going to be elements that you have to work out. So for example, the plot, the setting, the setting, characters, and the theme. And if you're in school or if you've sort of just started, you probably have, got a pretty good idea of what all these are already. But to sum it up, the plot is basically just what happens. So from point A to B to C, whenever your novel ends or whenever your story ends, what happens? That's the plot. The setting is where it happens. The characters is who's involved. Okay, so that's your good guys, your bad guys, your friends, your romantic interests, all that stuff. And then the theme. Theme is something that gave me a hard time for years and years and years, especially when I was younger, when I was trying to figure out how to do this. all theme really means is sort of the subtext. So it's the idea underneath all of this. So kind of like when you write an essay and you say, okay, what's your point? The theme is kind of like that. So you could be writing a story that, you know, deals with racism or sexism or ableism. You could be writing about religion or atheism, you know, the meaning of life, politics, family, friends, you know, all that type of stuff. So the subtext is really just kind of what you're exploring in your story, and how your characters grow is going to be dictated by how they react to whatever of these things you're dealing with. And again, these are all like, you know, buzzwords right now, but I mean, it could be something as simple as, you know, growing up, or, you know, self-discovery, because ultimately, yeah, that's a funky looking F, but self-discovery or something like that. I mean, ultimately, it's about whatever you want it to be about, you know. A lot of good stories don't have to have really developed subtext. They can be quite good just by saying, you know what, these are ordinary people doing ordinary things in an odd situation, and this is how they get through it. It could be as simple as that, and you don't really need to go through all of the sort of in-depth stuff. But generally speaking, if you're going to go for mass market appeal, you're going to be dealing with some of this at some point. And, you know, how you approach it is going to be a big part of your writer's voice. More on that later. So let's dive a little bit into plot today. Okay, this is kind of an introductory video, so I'm going to, you know, edit this down a little bit, and then, you know, maybe go into more depth in subsequent videos. So let me know in the comments below if that's what you'd like to see, or if there's anything that you'd like me to address that I haven't addressed or something, you know, or even like tips or tricks that you guys have come up with or learned along the way that I don't really mention. You know, please put that in, because ultimately my goal with this channel is essentially to engage with, you know, writers of all skill levels, of all backgrounds, anybody who basically likes fiction, and see what we can come up with as a community in terms of processes, in terms of, you know, conversations about the craft, the idea behind what we're doing, why it's so difficult sometimes why it's easy, sometimes why it's so painful. You know, all these things are in writing. So I really want to explore that as a community, because writing is often described as what you would call an isolationist type of thing. You're doing it by yourself, basically. You kind of lock yourself in your room and you type away. But for me, you know, stories have never really been that. They've never been just one person, you know, because once you tell the story, you're either telling it to another person, or you're telling it to a group of people, or people are reading it. And so, you know, that grows from one person to many. So again, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.